The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everybody, and warm welcome to today's viewing. Before we start up, we're gonna wait a few minutes just to check everything is okay. If the sound is okay, and the sound is okay, and the viewing of my screen is okay, just relax and enjoy the viewing today. If it's not working, please email me directly, and I will see what the problem is. You can always go in the chat if you want and add your comment there. As I told before, we're going to wait a few minutes just to start up. Yes, the time is now 10, and I will start the webinar. First of all, I want to say hello and welcome to everybody. My presentation today will be concentrating on the room application, the room manager. I will start by telling a few words about Symmetry, the company that I work for, and what BIMeye overall is. And then after that, we will go directly to BIMeye and see how the room manager works in practice. Who I am, I will tell my story. My name is Robert McVitie, and I'm 35 years old. I'm working here at Symmetry, and I am one of the consulting who's working with BIMeye. And when we work with BIMeye, we work in big projects, small projects, with developer and with architects and consultants. My background is that I'm educated building engineering and architect. I have seen a lot of projects that I have been in that we don't work with BIMeye or a database, and that we can share the information in an easy way. That's why I began my work here at Symmetry and the BIMeye, and see how it's possible to add BIMeye to more projects and see the benefits of BIMeye and how we can use that in a different way. What is BIMeye? BIMeye is an CDE platform. It's an common data environment. We have all our 6 applications in a cloud. When you assign to BIMeye, you get all the 6 applications included if you want. If you use one of the applications, it's fine. The 6th application is the door manager that allowed us to do all the work and take an advanced and take an overall control our overall door project. The room manager is the exact same. It's allowed us to have a totally control over room cards. The interior application is the exact same for the interior manager. The asset requirement is also a very good applications, but we're gonna do all the viewings of all applications further. Revision Manager is also a very good application that we apply to all of these 5 other applications. As I told before, the BIMeye application is an CDE environment that we have all our information in a cloud on the internet, that we can share it, that we can access it from all over the world. Before we start up our project in BIMeye, we have to see and structure a few things. First of all, we have to have a structure of our project and our database. We have to see how we're going to work in-house with our project. It's very important because when we start up the project, we have to have all our configuration done, so it's not getting wrong during the way we do the project. How does BIMeye work? It's very easy and very simple. I'm going to show now. In the middle we have the database, and to the left in green here I have my my model. For this case I'm going to show today in Revit, but you can also use ArchiCAD as well, no problem. They work almost the same. When I am in a project and I'm a model owner as an architect or a consulting, I will start up by building up my model. When I have built up my model, I can start now to share my model. I can share my model, or I can share my information to other consulting involved in the project. In this case, we're going to share information, we're going to share parameters to other consultings by starting to synchronize with the database. And I will, doesn't matter which application I will work with, all the applications we synchronize almost at the same wise. When I've synchronized my information to the database, I do the information available for other consultants to starting to read my information and starting adding more information to the database. In practical, this I'm going to show how it works also. For this example, we have in orange here, we have the one of the consulting starting to read my information. When he read my information, he can start to add own information to the database. And I can just invite 1 or 2 or 3 consultings at the moment. I can add more if I want. We don't have any numbers that is maximum to join the database or work at the same time in the database. That's also a good benefit and a profit to have in a project. When the consulting number 2, 3, 4, 5 come in and read and starting to adding information to the database, it's now getting very easy for everybody to read and add information, and it's very easy for me as a model owner to take back all that information to my main model. If I want to do an export by an IFC export, for an example, I want to have all the other consultants information with me. I can just do a download from the database to my main model. We're going to show that also in a practical way how we do that. I can work with one model. I can work with several models at the same time in the same database. This allowed me to have a lot of buildings, and I can sort, I can sort, and I can group after that. And I'm going to show that also in a few minutes here. When I have added all the information, all the consultants in the project can an easy way take out any template report, for example, a room card. We can take out the room card, we can see the information, we can check the information, we can have it as an self-control over the project. It's not necessary as a regular project. We have to tell, for an example, the model owner or the architect to take out these reports. And we can form these templates exactly how we want. The only thing we have to think about is when we do the design of the templates, we have to have a good call on Word or another program that allowed us to make the templates. What is Room Manager and how can we have the benefits of the Room Manager? First of all, when you are working in a database. When you're working in a database, it's allowed you to share your information in real time. That's number one. Number two, it's very easy to add information to the database. That's allowed a lot of people to see their information immediately. And if we want to change an information in the database, we do that very easily also. And in an easy way, we can have an overview report that the template that I just showed you. I'm going to show you now in a easy way how you can print out the templates from the database. And if we compare this to a regular if you compare this to how we traditionally do a room card, you have, for example, Word. You're typing in a description of the room. You have the file on your computer. You can always share the file, but you can never be sure that's this latest version of the file. You can not work with the file more than one at the moment. In a Room Manager application, it allows you to work several people at the same time, add information, pick out the information, sort information, and etc. This allowed us to simplify our work. This allowed us to secure our work, and we can get a higher safety on our work. When we are working with room cards, it's very often we see that the rooms are changing a lot during a project. We are seeing the rooms changing maybe several times a day. To have a total control of that, we have to have access to our, for example, a database. If we do it in a traditional way, it ain't gonna allow us to have that control. I'm gonna show how we're gonna add a new room in the model. We're going to change the room name in the model and how it's going to be when we update the database. If I have a traditional Word file and I'm doing something in my model and, for an example, taking away a room or adding a new room, the database allowed us here to have an indication this room is new, this room has been a change in, and etc. etc. In a traditional way, we can't have that. A lot of people tells me, when can we apply the Room Manager in a project? You can choose when you're gonna apply the Room Manager in your project. You can apply it, as we always recommend, in the beginning of the project, but you also add it in the middle of the project. It's not always necessary to add it in the beginning. So it's not a problem during when. The most important thing is how you work in the database, and when you are working in the database, that you are organized and you have a structure of your work methodic, as I told before. And the benefits with the working with the database is, of course, that you have a total overview of the project. You have a connection data with all the consulting at the same time in real time. And that, as we call, a row of information. Instead of having all the information in different Word files, in different servers or different hard drives, we can now easily put them in the same place and easy access to them. As an architect, I can read them, or as a consulting, I can read my other consulting colleagues' information that I added. We can put up rules in the project that allowed me to read and change, or just allowed me to read information. So that's also a good benefit and very, very powerful tool to use. Will it make different in a project? Will it be easier to work in a project if you add the room manager? For sure, I can say yes. We have spoken with our clients. We have spoken with the people who is working with BIMeye in projects today. They only see benefits with working with BIMeye. It's not necessary to have any specially computer or a design experience or something like that. So it's allowed our customer and our user an easy way to enter information, to share the information, and search for information that other consulting, for example, had added to the database. I'm going to show now how it practically works in the model. Before I start up, it's very important that we start in a right way. I will show my view today with a Revit model. And when I start up the Revit model, for sure I have to have a model, and I have to have a room, and I have to add some information to the room. For an example, a room number and the room name and etc. Eitherwise, I can't work with the database. The information I'm going to send now to the database is coming from my model. To spare some time, I have done the model and I have added my information to my Revit model. For an example here, we're going to take this room. For an example, if I just pick the room, and I can see here in my Revit properties, I have the under identity data, I have several information that I added today. For an example, under name, I have the room name, I have my room number, I can add some description here, I can add colors to I can add as much information I want in my model and choose to pick which information I'm going to take from my model and send it to the database. And I can do the exact same in the database. I can add as much information that I want and choose to send it back to my model. For this example, I'm going to show you, I'm going to have a few parameters that I'm going to send over from the model to the database, and I'm going to add all the other information in the database. For an example, for information I'm going to send over is my room number, my room name, and that's good enough for the moment. And before I do that, before I can synchronize with my database, I have to do a few adjustments and a few installation on my computer. For the first time when I come to as an BIMeye user, I'm gonna be invited to a project. When I'm invited to a project, I'm gonna get an email from from BIMeye that give me username and the password. Now I'm gonna log in with my username and my password, of course. When I've done that, I'm gonna come to my first site here. When I'm at first site, I'm gonna choose the project I'm gonna work with. For an example, if the company that I work with is involved in like 200 projects, and I'm only invited to one of them, I ain't gonna see the 200 project. I only gonna see one project that I'm invited to. That's very good, and that's allowed me to have total control of the project I'm working with, and it's necessary to go into other projects and see what they are doing. The risk is when I open it for all, people gonna go in and maybe work in a wrong project. For this example, I'm gonna use my example project here. I'm just gonna select it. And when I have entered my project, I have the site here, my information site. My information site allows me to add the information to which information the project have. For example, the project name, the company name, and etc. I can an easy way just change this information by adding my personal information. And I can just type in information like this. And when I'm satisfied with my information here, I can just click on save, and I will see the information is updating here. I can always also change my picture here to customize it to the project, and I can do that the same place. I can choose a picture here from my database if I want to. And this is the information of for the project. And here we have something that we call the project grid. It's the connection between the model and my database. Before I do this connection, I have to have my client installed on my computer. It's very easy to download the client. I just click on download here, and I go to which design tool I'm working with. In this case, I'm working with Revit, and I choose my year of Revit. In this case, it's 17, and I just click once on the MSI file, and it will gonna install it like 20 seconds or something like that. When the client is installed on the computer, it's gonna tell you to reboot the computer. That it's no necessary, or you just can reboot Revit. When you've done that, you're gonna have a new add-in on your border here. If you go up to the Revit structure, you have the regular, the standard buttons over here, and we have an add-in button over here. And to the right of your add-in button, you're gonna have a new one. It's the BIMeye client. Before we're gonna make the connection between the model and the database, we just for sure ensure us that we have the latest model and the latest version of the client. Just click on about my BIMeye and see which client version you have today, and just click check for updates. Telling me it's not necessary to update my client because I have the latest one installed, so that's good. I close that one, and now I will do the first thing. It will be I'm gonna connect my model to my database. And the sign in button here, I'm gonna check in here. I'm gonna sign in with my login information that I got received from the BIMeye team, the username and the password. And over here, we have something that we call the project grid. If we go back to the database we have the project grid over here. I can just easily click on copy grid here, or I can just take the whole grid and Control C and copy it. Doesn't matter what I do, it's the same thing. I'm gonna copy my grid now, and it's gonna say the grid is copied. And I go back to my Revit model, and under the project grid here, I have gonna just paste it in by typing in Control V. When I've done that, I have to choose my model name. It's very important to choose a model name and not use the model name. For the model name and the project grid is connected to each other. I can have several models that I before told you to the same database. And that's very important then to have different model names on the models. For an example, we have building 1, building 2, building 3, building 4. All these 4 buildings can have the same project grid. So for this example now, I have pasted in my project grid, and I have my model name here. I'm gonna just hit the log on button, and it's gonna tell me that the successful logged into BIMeye. So that's good. So now I know the connection between my model and the database is okay. Before I gonna synchronize for the first time, I'm gonna do a quick checkup in the database and see that everything is okay also. If I go back to my database, and I will see here, I have all the applications over here. I have the asset manager, door manager, interior manager, require manager, revision, and the room manager. If I click on each one of them, I can see for here, for an example, this is the interior manager. I can see I don't have any model connected to it. If I go to requirement manager, I don't have any model connected either here. That's because of if I have one model and I synchronize the model to the database, it doesn't synchronize with all the applications. Each one of the application is separately sync in buttons for it, and I'm going to show it in a few minutes here now. So if you go to the room manager, for example, I can see here, oh, I have one model here. I have objects here. I have, when I did the last synchronize, and what kind of synchronize I have done. Did I do a full synchronize, or did I do a particular synchronize? Now I can go back to my model, and I can see what buttons I have in my application here. The add-in will automatically give me all the applications. I can choose here to have them visible, or I can just hide them if I want to. Not here. I can have them hide and only shown by application I'm working with here. So in this case, we're gonna work with the room manager, and I have added the information to the model. I have a room number, and I have a room name. So that's good. So I will go to my room application button over here. I can click on the button, and I can see here, I can synchronize it with BIMeye. Then I will take one room, or I can take all the rooms at the same time. Full synchronize, it means that I can synchronize all the model room at the same time. If I take an partitional sync, I can take just one room or two rooms at the moment if I want. I can create views from the room that I'm working with, a plan view picture, for example, and I can export the image from the database, or from the model to the database in a simple way. We can configure our parameters that we have added to the room, and we can also export parameter information from this room to the database. And I can open the synchronizing queue and see who is working now and how is the synchronizing doing is it allowed me to do a synchronize to the database. So we'll start up with do the sync to the database, and I will do a full synchronizing. I'm gonna click the room button. I'm gonna click on synchronize with BIMeye. You're gonna tell me, are you sure you want to do this? Yes, I'm sure. It's gonna give me a dialog if I want to download information from the database or if I want to upload information to the database. In this case, I want to go on both ways. I want to do download and then upload. I can just check one of the boxes if I want to. So I will do by clicking start here, and it will start to synchronize with the database. And it's going to send all the room information that I've chosen to the database now. Now it's starting. You see, I have almost 1,200 rooms in this model, so ain't necessary taking a long time to synchronize all the rooms at the same time. You see here, I have 1,187 rooms to synchronize, and it's going quite fast. When the synchronize is done, I'm gonna have a dialog box that show me what the information that I've done and if the synchronize is okay. Here I can see my information. Successfully, I can what information I have sent to the database, and all the grids are connected to my rooms, and everything is good to go here. So good. So now I have synchronized from my model to the database, and to see the information in the database, I have to just refresh my browser. Just click the refresh button, and I will see here on Room Manager, I just send over 1,187 rooms, and I did it 10:30, and the time is now 10:30. You see, this is the full synchronize I've just done now. So quite easy, quite fast to do it. Now we're going to go in the database and start to add information. On my left here, I have my overview buttons. I have the documentation. If I want to have a quick guide or help in the BIMeye, I have a lot of documentations that allow me to do that. I have a feedback button over here. I can just, in an easy way, type in what's good and what's not so good in BIMeye. That's allowed us to be even better with all applications. We have our support button is included to all the applications. You can just type the support button and type in your question, and we will get back to you as quick as possible. And we have the information button. It's this site we are at now. And to start work with all our applications, we just hit the application button over here. I have the door manager, interior room, asset requirement, and the revision available. As I told before, if you're only working with room manager or with interior manager, you can just hide the other buttons. Now I'm going to go into the room manager and start up my database. I'm going to see just for a second here. Yeah. And beware of the tea cup over there. It's very important to know a thing, maybe didn't say that before. To get access to the database, it's a web you have to go by a browser, and when you use a browser, use all the browsers. Don't use the Internet Explorer browser. Use the use Microsoft Edge if you want to. You can use the Google Chrome. You can use Safari as that's also very good browsers. And you have to check your connection line all the time to for the internet. If you're working as if you're just browsing on a website and you just can scroll up and down, and when you refresh the site and you don't have any internet access, then the information you have added will be lost. So beware of your internet connection, that it's also always good. Now I am in the database, and you see the database is quite easy to read and pick information from. It reminds me of an Excel arc. Before I will start to add information to my room card, I will just in a quick way show you what all this button is and what they can do. When you start up a project, and you may be gonna see it like this. You don't have any model or levels selected. You go to the select model and level button and just click on it. And it's gonna tell you which one of the models, if you have several models, you wanna work with. I wanna work with this model. It's gonna allow you to choose which level you wanna work with. You can work with all the levels at the same time, or you can just work with one level at the moment if you want. You will decide that. It's not a big deal. You can change it during your project all the time. I'm going to start by hitting hold the model. And I'm just waiting just a second. And under example here, I can select now and start by setting up my the columns and my filter options. Everything that I see here, I can just organize it in an easy way. I can create my own view. If you are several people in the project, every person will have its preset by its own. I can, in an easy way, copy a preset that my colleague or somebody other have done. So that's not an issue. So I can just click on add here, and I can just type in my name and click on the save button, and I can choose which one of the columns I want to have visible. I can check all if I want. I can check one or two of them, and I can in an easy way just move them around. It's in an easy way. We have the revision button over here. That's allowed us to work with the revision application, the revision manager. There are other views that you can go in and look how that works, and it's very, very good application. And as I told you, you can use it in all type of project, in all type of combined with all the applications. The timestamp is also a very good stamp to use in a project. You can use it. It's not a backup of the database. It's just a copying of what you have done, and you can compare two timestamps to each other. For an example, you can take a timestamp Monday, the first week in January. You can take a timestamp the 1st February, and you just can compare the timestamp to each other, and you can see the changes between them. You can do as many timestamp as you want in a project. We don't have any and the backup, as I told before, it's we do every day, every 24 hours, we do one backup on the database. So that's your security, to have all the information secured in our server then. The create button for I can create my template, I can create my report. For this example, I'm going to show you a room card. We can import information from an Excel arc in an easy way. We can export the information we have in the database to an Excel in an easy way. I can copy my information between two rooms in an easy way also. I can edit and select information one or more and add information. If I'm gonna add, for an example, the same information to all three rooms, I can just hit the edit select button. I will see that I have three rooms, and I can add my information to the three rooms at the same time. Again, allows me to work very fast, very secure, and very easy. And don't forget, if you have selected one or several rooms, just uncheck them also, that you don't have them all the times in the background. And on our left side, we have an overview here. Also, we have what we're working with now. It's the room list, our room card information. We have our revision archives. If I'm doing a template, if I had saved the template and the report and the revision will be added in the archive mode, and I will show you that also in a few minutes here. I can add pictures, I can add images to my model, I can add information, product information if I want also. We can work with something that we call the product parameter group list. If I am in an early stage of my project, I can just pick up my material list, I can pick up my color list, I can pick up my painting list, I can do the presets of all these and choose them to apply them to each or every room that I want. I can show you how you do this in an easy way. And the report templates, I can add my templates over here. I can just choose one template and just in an easy way, just add the template to my database. And the parameter groups allows me to do all the configurations in the database. It allows me to have a total control of the information that's coming to the database and going from the database to back to my model. If we go back to the room list over here, and if we starting to add information to our room, for an example, if I click on one room or several rooms at the same time, doesn't matter. I'm gonna go in here, and when I open up my room schedule, then I know I'm gonna do the information I'm adding gonna go specially to this room. I can change all these headlines if I have to, if it's necessary. If I want to change, like in Sweden we call it golv, we have floor in English, for an example. We have the wall, we have the ceiling, and etc. and etc. How I change this, I'm gonna show you. You go to parameter groups over here. You just click see what you have here. You can add new ones and you can just change them in an easy way. I go back to my room list. I click on a room. And I will start to add information to that room. I have the room card here. I have the instance parameter here. I have attachment over here if I have in documentation or something. And I have the picture that I'm soon going to show you when I export something from my model to the database. And I can add comments also. If we start with a fun example for the floor here. I want to add the information on floor. we have in Sweden, we call it AMA-koder. We have something we have several projects now in Norway. TFM, we call it, tvärfarlig märkning. It's the same way. It works at the same system. We can just adjust all these presets for the market you're working with, so it's no big deal for us. Over here, I want to add information to the floor. If I click in here, I can choose one or two here. If it's not the one in my preset, I can just an easy way create one new here. If I click on the plus sign here, I can choose to go from one I already created from before, or I can just start by doing one whole new. I will start by starting one new, create one new here. I will call it wood floor 12. Click on save here, and all these headings I can change them as I told before to just have them to be as good as they are to my project. I'm going to choose which category I want to add the new material, if it's for the floor, if it's for the wall, if it's for the ceiling, for an example. I can just choose one of them. My AMA code in Sweden, or for an example in Norway, we have the TFM code, the tvärfarlig märkning. I can just add it here. I can choose one from before, or I can just create one new. And I can take create one new here, 1.2.3. And what kind of material it is, I can just choose one here. It's not stone, it's wood, and I can, in an easy way, just add the material description of it, description of a material. And then I can just submit it, and I will have here on my preset. When I choose this one now, I can see on my right side of the mouse, I have a lot of information adding into it. I have the material code, AMA code, as I told you before, and etc. and etc. This is a leader parameter. If I choose one of the left ones over here, it's going to allow me to change all of them on the right side. If I choose this one, you see the information is changing on my right side. So I'm going to choose that one now. I'm going to hit the add button, and I will see here the floor, wood floor 12 that I just created is added here. I can add information. I can add what kind of information I want to the room. If it's color, if it's painting color and description, and etc. and etc. And I can do that also in an easy way. I can just choose one if it's in my list, or I can just create one in an easy way. In this one case, I'm going to choose one from preset, and I'm going to rename it, and I have the NCS code. We have a 1050, and I just hit save. And what kind of color it is, I can have my description to the colors also, and I'm quite good with that. And over here, I can now choose for this floor, I can use this kind of color. If I have the same floor, I can change the color. That's allowed me, for an example, when I do the description of 2 rooms, I have wood floor in 2 rooms, but I have 2 different colors in the rooms. And I can change them in an easy way over here. And at the same time, I can just add the information for my painting code. And the exact same thing here I can do on the other headlines over here. As I told before, you can work this kind of list, you can do them during the project. If you're in an early stage of a project, you maybe know all the colors and you know all the presets you're gonna do, then you can work with the lists over here on your left side. You can do all these presets and just choose from the list here then, in an easy way. When I'm done here, I'm satisfied with this information that I added to my room. I can go into my instance parameter and I can see what's happening with my project here. I can see that I have chosen for the floor now a wood floor. It's a concrete and etc. etc. And I can see all necessary information here. I can see also if I have something to my added some picture or view from the model. If I now submit here, it's gonna allow me to save everything. And I go back to my room list and I see my information is updated now. And I can just add as many columns that I want here and what kind of information that I want. Before I'm gonna do an test printing of a report, I'm gonna do a quick export of an image from, for example, this one. I can go into my room application over here. I can click on Create Views. When I click on Create Views, it's gonna tell me what kind of picture or image do you want to create. I can just create a template if I want, that I can always use the same template. Gonna tell me it's gonna only allow me to do a plan view of the room. I want to offset of the room outside the room 500. And from which view template I want to have my base from? I want to have it from my plan view. And from which information do I want to pick to connect the view to? Yeah, I want the number and the name. I can just you choose one of them if it's necessary. And I click OK here. It's gonna create the views now. I can select one view, or I can select full view selection by not hitting anyone. Then it's going to create for all rooms in the project. Takes around 1 minute to do that. You see here the processing is creating all the views now. As I told you before, I have around 1,187 rooms. Now it's gonna create 1,187 views also. So the processing is quite good, quite fast, and quite reliable. During the model is exporting the images now. I'm gonna show you in the database. Yeah, it's almost done here. See the processing over here. Can go to our oh, it's almost done. see now. It's still working. Just it's processing over here. So we're gonna now go to room lists. I'm gonna see what's happening in the database. And we're gonna choose the room now. Click on the picture. We're gonna choose picture, and we see over here. We see the picture from the room that I just created. It's an doesn't want to go away from the screen here. It's something with my computer, so I apologize of that. So that's how we create the view and how we export a view. And now I'm going to show you an easy way how you take out a report. For an example, if we have one or several rooms that we want to work with. I want this room, I want that one, and I want that one. I'm going to go into create room here. This window doesn't want to go away. As usual, Revit is just apologize of that. We're going to just sorry. Sometimes when you're working with Revit and working with takes a little bit time. So I'm sorry for that delay. And now I have my 3 rooms here over here. I want to create a report from these 3 rooms. I click on report here. I click on report here. I click on OK, and I will choose which kind of template I want to use. I want to use it, and I will the report name to be Robert PM. It's created by me, and the date is today's date, and I can just add all this information if I want, and I can just click on create report. Oh. PM. And today's date, and create a report. And when I created the report, I will have it like this. Here I have my report, my template that I used. An easy way, I can just take it out and save it. And my template allows me to see the information, read the information. You can change the information here, but we don't recommend to do that. If I close this down and I go back to my room list now, and I want to export to Excel from the database, and I can do that also in an easy way. Just click on Excel here and export, and I will see the information that I tapped in an easy way. I can import this information when I add, for an example, a new room number or wherever it is. I can just type it förråd. I can save this one. I can go back and I can import my information by choosing the file that I just saved and exported from the database. Before we gonna end up this viewing today, I'm gonna just show you in a quick, easy way how you control your database, the information, which way you can send the information. You choose one of the columns over here. You can just send and click here. You can choose which way the information will go. Do you want to synchronize it to BIMeye, or do you want to synchronize it from BIMeye? You can just choose one of these, and you can just change them if you want an easy way also. And you just submit it, and when you refresh your website over here, the database will update it. When you go back to your Revit model and synchronize with the database, then it's gonna understand from which way the information will go. This was all for today's viewing, and thank you everybody for listening. And the information to our contact person is Tony Iske, and you have his information on the screen now. So if you have any questions or something you want to ask me, just email me on robert.macdc@symmetry.com. Thank you very much, everybody, and have a nice day.